The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. Tonight, I got my third episode in my four-part series on feuds in New England independent wrestling. And tonight, I have two guests in studio. I have professional wrestler Widow Belmont and her manager Sean Gorman, and we will be going over your feud with Alisha Edwards, Alexis Nevaeh. She had a bunch of different names.
Yes.
We tried to get her on here, but it didn't work out. Guys,
whatever.
That's her.
That's pretty good.
Nice.
I'm doing stuff.
Thanks for coming on. And so she's doing great things though with Impact.
Oh yeah.
She's doing, you don't watch much wrestling,
No.
huh, Sean?
No. She's an Impact.
Yeah.
What's Impact?
Well, like I said, thank you both. Thank you both for coming on. I want to ask you guys first. Do you remember the first time you met each other?
As a matter of fact, I do.
All right.
Do you remember this?
I know. I'm 100% sure it was a Triple W show.
It was. It was in Somerville, Massachusetts.
Yes.
And she was super quiet. And I talked about this when I inducted you into the New England
I was
Wrestling
there.
Hall of Fame. And I was just like, wow, that girl is really pretty. And I said to the dearly departed D.C. Dillinger, I'm like, who's that lady? Just like, her name's Kathy. She's from like the backwoods of Maine. Like, she's never even seen Star Wars, but she's all right.
It's not true. I had seen Star Wars, but yeah, that's a typical, D.C. Dillinger. Yeah.
Nice.
So that was it. But she was very quiet. I remember that.
I was probably intimidated, scared. I had probably just started branching out from wrestling for Steve Bradley.
Right.
And so that was the first place I worked outside of Steve Bradley's promotion. So I was in with people that I wasn't used to being around.
Right.
And I think that probably the only people I knew there might have been Nikki Rocks. Actually, no, I didn't know you, but I did know Dave.
Right, yeah.
Because Dave wrestled for Steve.
Right.
So probably he might have been the only person that I knew, him and maybe Nikki Rocks. So.
Right.
Dave used to just hang around the Triple W locker room. I don't know why.
You actually said that here on the air.
I don't know. And Eddie used to go too.
Right.
We were just hanging out.
Yeah. And was George with you too?
Probably, but he probably was working, those two.
Right.
But I was working, actually. I was actually working as a manager. Tanya.
That's right. You
Was
were
managing
Tanya Lee.
Managing Tanya Lee.
Who disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yeah. I heard she has kids now, but that's about all I.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. It's too bad though. She was a great talent.
She was a great talent, but I respect her for. I mean, she started young.
Really? Yeah.
She was like 14 or something like
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
a little too young
I did
to get
not
into
know
the
that.
business.
Yeah.
Wow, that's young.
Yeah. She was
Yeah.
really young, but she was one of those. She was exceptional.
She was
Right.
very talented.
Yeah.
Now she was trained by Steve too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the first time you met Alisha? It was most likely separate, right? Did you meet her first?
I bet you did.
Yeah, probably. Because I'd been working, they brought me in as a manager because as good as Tanya Lee was, she wasn't great on the microphone.
Right.
So that was like a perfect fit. She hated cutting promos and she loved having me as a manager. She's just like, I was like, do you want to say anything? She goes, nope. Go. I'm like,
Nice.
okay. My shit.
Oh yeah.
My stuff.
That's all right.
Anyway. So I must have met Lish, in Triple W, or not Top Rope, perhaps, because I know she was wrestling down there a lot. So,
Yeah, I think for me it was probably the Triple W locker room.
Right.
I think she was kind of where I was like would have been like lower card. She was probably at that point like mid card.
Yeah.
She hadn't quite in the time that I started, being on the lower card. She started moving up the card, and I remember her being, she was very nice, very, just kind of laid back. But she was always lovely to talk to. She's always been very kind to me, and my best matches were with her. So.
Right. So what did you think of her though afterwards? Like after you met her?
After I met her?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was delightful.
Great. What about you, Sean?
I'm like, wow, that's a hell of an accent. Does she still have that in TNA?
Big time.
Good.
Big time.
You know what? Good for her. Just own it.
She does. Oh, she does.
Because you don't hear it anymore.
Right.
It's actually, the Boston accent's like going extinct.
Yeah.
You know?
No
it was like
doubt.
her and Dave.
I was
were
going to
like,
say, Dave had the, Dave, you know,
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Kathy, what's your story? You
Yeah.
know.
But, yeah, good for her.
Nice. All right. Now, your first matches you had were in WWW,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
And wasn't Delamort part of that too? Like at the beginning?
She was. They kind of put us. What they did was, because I was so green, they
Right.
wanted to put me with somebody. So we
Right.
kind of had a like a little faction. We were the Daughters of Darkness.
I guess.
I think
That was before Sean,
that's a
right?
name-
That's why I brought it up.
That's
That
a name I hadn't thought of in a long time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. That was like the very beginning, and
Right.
I remember they would have my first feud was with Violet Flame.
Okay.
Violet Flame,
Wow.
and so it was her and I, and then Delamorte would come to the ring with me, and we would do tag matches and things like that. Basically, they wanted me to be with somebody that was more experienced,
Yep.
I guess, and just to get used to, you know, even though I'd been wrestling, you know, in Steve Bradley's promotion, they kind of wanted me to be with somebody else, which was, I guess it was a good way for me to start.
Right.
So, and how did it, like, was it you that spoke to somebody about managing me?
That
Yeah.
was the next question, so perfect.
Yeah, because Tanya just literally just ghosted.
left. Right.
I mean,
That's right. She
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
she
was gone.
She was just gone. I remember Sheldon actually called me. Just like, have you heard from Tanya? I said, no.
And you were very close with her back then.
Yeah, I mean, relatively. And but I was probably the last person to have spoken to her. And I said, no. I said, you know, whatever, called, texted, and she just, didn't you run into her at a mall like a few years ago, like randomly? I thought you said you ran into her at a mall and like she was working there somewhere in New Hampshire. Anyway, yeah, she just literally just walked away from the business, which I kind of respect.
yeah.
You know, she was like, yeah, I'm all set.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. If it's not for, why keep doing something that if it's not making you happy and it's something you don't want to do,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, it's just
Yeah, she just vanished. So, yeah, I was without a lady. And, you know, Triple W was still, you know, going pretty strong at
Right.
that point. So they're like, okay, well, who do you want to manage? And I said, Kathy. And the reason why is because, you know, I don't watch any modern wrestling, as we've discussed.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, Alisha's on Impact?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, but I just around that time, I had been watching Gary Hart manage Abdul the Butcher.
Right.
And I started to get interested in that dynamic, the way that he managed Abdul the Butcher. And I have no problem admitting that I used to put Kathy under the hood, because Gary Hart used to do that.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom was very nice to sew like a hood. It was a black hood, like an executioner's
Right,
hood.
right.
You know, and like if she had the hood on, she was kind of calm.
Yeah.
You know, but then when I took it off, she was
Wild.
really crazy. You know, I just thought that was great. And I'd
Yeah.
hold you in the corner, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just like
Right.
I'll admit, you know, hey, you know, when you steal from a lot of people, you know, it's inspiration. If you steal from one person, it's plagiarism. But I took a lot of stuff from a lot of different things. But
Right,
I
right.
got all that from Gary Hart. But I like that dynamic of, you know, like, you know, managing someone who's just a little out of control.
Right.
You know, because you were there.
Yeah.
You weren't quite out of control. And I remember telling you to throw the chairs around. There's good stories about this because Kathy, she got way into it.
Did you?
Yeah.
oh yeah. I think Rich Palladino
And Chris, you took out 2 ring announcers with chairs.
yeah.
Chris Norman and Rich?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. Because I would go to the ring and wherever there was a chair, you know,
Right.
I
Yeah.
try to get it over the top rope, you know, so it doesn't come back at you, but you know, get it into the ring. And poor Rich Palladino and poor Chris Norman, they would have to run for the, you know, run as far away as they could. And Rich Palladino will still speak fondly of that with me, which
Nice.
is.
You really clipped Norman though. He was like, I'm like, shut up.
Oh, yeah.
Just ring announce, nerd.
That's awesome. I remember the first time I saw it. I don't remember where it was, but you were with the gas mask. Didn't you come out with the gas mask at a few places?
Ahead of your time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think for the
I know. I don't think I'm thinking this wrong.
Pre-COVID.
You might have, I know Jessica Havoc used to come out with a gas
Yeah,
mask.
but this was way before that. I thought you came out and you were just like crazy.
Well, I used to come out with like goggles.
Well, then maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was the goggles.
You know, I preferred the hood though. The hood, I don't know. The hood was just. One of my proudest moments was making children cry.
Right.
You know,
It was creepy.
because
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
scared of me.
Right.
And it's like that's what you want.
Yeah, and it's alluring too, because you're like, well, what's under that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then they take the hood off and it's
Yeah,
but
I remember fans being like, well, put it back on. You know.
I wear a mask now, and they still, when I take it off, they immediately start chanting, "Put it on,
Yeah,
put
yeah.
it back on." But it's I loved that dynamic. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we never did anything that was planned. Like
Really?
Like promos. We used to do this thing where we just I'd there'd be a bunch of us. We'd just come up with a bunch of things that, you need to incorporate this phrase. I remember one of them was cut the mustard.
Yeah.
Aluminum siding.
Aluminum siding. And there was like one other one. And he could do it in one take.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I believe that.
And
yeah.
I was thinking about it today, and I think there was one time where you missed one, and so it was a perfect take,
Yeah.
but you still insisted upon going back and reshooting it so you could get all three in there.
No, I got to say aluminum siding.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
And the thing is, it was always the whole dynamic was fun for us.
Yeah.
It was fun, and the wrestling was almost like it wasn't an afterthought, but it's like all the stuff that we did, like the throwing of the chairs and stuff. I mean, I knew I was going to do it. I didn't, but most of the stuff that we went out and did, we didn't really plan.
Nice.
It was just, that's why I did zero prep for this interview, because I always feel like I do better not knowing what's coming.
Right.
So
You got to feel the crowd.
Yeah.
Every crowd is different.
Yeah.
Right.
Some crowds are in for different things, and
Yeah.
there's, I hate to use the word magic because it's lame, but there is a magic to it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To just, and that's, I think pro wrestling, the reason why I don't like modern pro wrestling, and I promise I won't get on a rant here, is because it's too scripted.
Yes.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
shows.
Yes.
It shows,
Yeah.
and that was the thing, was you never went into a promo saying, I'm going to say this and this and this, or
Yeah.
I never saw you with a notebook looking at notes or anything.
Right.
You never had bullet. I mean,
He did it old school.
Well,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And the thing is, he never came in, he knew who I was going to, if he needed to do a promo, he knew who I was going to wrestle.
Right.
But that's pretty much
Yeah.
that's where it's
Bullet points.
Right.
That's where his prep stopped.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
he knew who I was wrestling, and then he would just kind of, what do you want me to throw in there? If I
Yeah.
was in a typo negative phase, he would get some typo negative
Oh yeah,
lyrics.
Joe used to give me typo negative and
Yeah.
Gothic man lyrics. I'm
Yeah,
like,
so-
no problem.
Yeah, probably some
Nice.
Marilyn Manson or something. But yeah,
Sure.
but it was always, and that you're absolutely right. I think that's one of the things that bothers me about modern wrestling is that you're given, say this and this and this,
Yeah.
and there's no I felt like what we did was believable.
Right.
Sure.
It was believable because
That's the art of professional wrestling.
Right,
That
exactly.
gray area
Yep.
between the real and the unreal.
Right.
And if it's too scripted, too planned, too homogenized and sanitized, it's too fake.
Right.
yeah. And people can see through that. too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People
Right.
can see through it.
Most of the promos, they're all being written for them, and it's not.
And it shows.
Yeah, it absolutely shows. And I
Yeah.
mean, and it probably started changing in 2014, 2015, pretty much when you walked away.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that when you walked away around
Yeah,
then?
it's not. Well, and actually, it's funny. My brief comeback, my
Yeah.
2 shows.
Yes.
Caleb, he would give the other guys scripted promos,
Right.
and be like, he'd look at Gorman's all set.
Yeah.
He doesn't need that.
Because you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, as far as promos, you weren't very keen on cutting promos.
No.
Are you still?
Honestly, I've yet to have to do one.
Yeah,
And
it's
you
Ed,
shouldn't.
Uncle Eddie.
No.
No?
Uncle, yeah.
Was with you for a while. Is he
Yes,
still with you
he's
now?
still with.
Okay.
After Saturday night, I don't think he is.
Right.
But, yeah, I pretty much. I've always felt that I don't.
Well, I used to tell you it's better if you don't. For
Yeah,
your
and-
character, it's actually better
Yeah.
if you don't talk.
And I agree with you completely on that, because if I tried to cut a promo now as the Widow Belmont, it just wouldn't. I don't think it would come across.
It's more creepy
Yeah.
if you
Right.
don't. If
Yeah.
you come out with that whole gimmick and you just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, this is all fundamentals from the Sheik, the original Sheik.
Right.
And Abdullah the Butcher. They never said a word.
Not
They never
one
cut
word.
any promos. And
That's
that's
right.
what made them think about it in horror movies too.
Yep.
You know, Jason Voorhees. What makes him creepy? He just stares at you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Now, Alisha had won the title. She must have been Alexis at this point.
Yeah, I think she was Alexis Nevaeh.
Yeah.
at that
You know
point.
that Sheldon got a phone call from Lexus Car Company?
Really?
You didn't know that?
I think you might have told me that.
No
I've forgotten
kidding.
that. Yeah.
He got a cease and desist
Wow.
from Lexus Car Company.
So that's when she changed it to
Changed her
Alexis.
name to Alexis Nevaeh.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that something? I mean,
That-
isn't it weird that like Lexus Car Company
Yeah.
has people on Google be like, oh, look at this little lady
Yeah.
who does independent wrestling in New England. We got to shut that down.
Yeah.
But that's seriously why she had to change her name.
See, I never knew that.
Yeah,
That's
why
wild.
she changed it to Alexis Nevaeh.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Now, she won the title on August 12, 2007 in a four-way with Natalia, Jaina, and defendant champ Tanya Lee. Were you with Tanya Lee at that time?
I don't know, but yes.
Okay. All right. But you had a shot at the title, at least one shot at the title in 2007. I looked it up, but you didn't win the title. And then Ariel and Alisha traded the belt back and forth a couple times.
Okay.
And then you defeated Ariel, and then lost it to Alisha in August of 2010. Do you remember that match where you won the title? Against Ariel. That was against Ariel.
Honestly, I don't.
Okay. That's all right.
Sadly, I have a terrible memory when it comes to certain things like
Right.
that. I remember the match that I won the title from Alisha.
Okay.
That I remember. That was written by Sean Gorman.
Yes.
It was a title versus hair match. And I remember coming out and realizing the crowd thinks we're going to get our head shaved.
Right, yeah. So I have a quick anecdote about
right.
this. Right here.
Please.
So, in preparing, I like to be a conscientious and
Yeah.
diligent guest on this program.
And I love
like
it.
to be prepared.
Yes.
So, you know, like you said, you kind of forget stuff. So I wanted to refresh my memory about this angle that Kathy did with Lish. So I texted my friend George, who was working for the WWE at the time. He is no longer. Hard to believe such a reputable company would screw someone over
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No doubt. So pack up and move from his home and everything.
Yeah, for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Anyway, I texted George and I said, hey, do you still have your booking sheets from NECW? I'd like to refresh my memory about the angle with Kathy and Lish. He goes, I didn't book that. I said, oh, really? I said, well, who booked this brilliant, wonderful,
Yeah.
successful angle? He goes, you did.
Yeah, you did.
I was like,
You didn't remember that? That
No,
you
I
booked the whole thing? You wrote the
It's
thing
right here.
beginning to end.
he goes, why don't you check your files? And I'm like, because I have files.
Yeah.
And I did. I booked the whole
Nice.
thing.
You did. I remember this whole thing.
I totally forgot.
The fact that he.
COVID.
The fact that he had confidence in me was
Right.
fantastic for me. The fact that he went to somebody and said, "Listen, I wrote this out," and they looked at it and said, "All right, we're gonna go with this."
Right.
For me, was even more impressive. Like for me, it was I think this was the first title that I'd actually won.
Okay.
And so it was going into it. I can't remember did we cut her hair leading up to the title versus hair match?
Well, Kathy, I have it all right here.
Well, there you
And,
go.
I was
Let's
just
do
like-
it.
And I was going through this, and I was just like, this is so simple, but it's deceptively simple.
Okay.
So the whole thing started where Lish had won the title. I'm looking for new contenders, blah, blah, blah. I come out and I interrupt. Now, here was a problem with women's wrestling, particularly at this time. There weren't a lot of you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
So people had already seen Kathy wrestle Lish
Right.
like 100 times. So in this promo, I had to think of like, why do the fans want to see this again?
Right.
What makes this interesting? And so what I said to Lish, I said, listen, true, you guys have wrestled many times. And true, you have beaten Belmont many times. But there is one thing that's different now. I'm her manager. And she's better now and more vicious than ever. She throws chairs and hits ring announcers. She's all crazy. And Lish was just like, you know what? I've already beaten her a million times. Screw you. The next time
Yeah.
we came out, and that's when we cut Alicia's hair. We cut her hair, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I held her in a full Nelson, and Kathy cut her hair. And I want to say something about that.
Yes.
I recently watched that with my girlfriend. And my girlfriend was watching it, and she goes, wait, did you guys really cut her hair? Should we say?
That's up to you. I'll leave it up to you. Because I have a little addition that if you I will you say whatever you would like to say.
Well, the point is, we cut her hair, and it looked great.
Nice.
It did. It did. I do have to say, for my end, like I'm one of those people, like I look out for the other person so much. I end up cutting my own hands trying to protect
No, I
her
remember
and keep
that.
her safe.
Yeah, with the scissors.
And so I'm bleeding, trying to, be vicious.
Right, right.
And I realize I cut myself, my fingers are bleeding, and I'm like, hopefully it wasn't, I tried to hide it as best as possible.
Right.
But the thing is, it was and the crowd was horrified.
Oh, I can
They were
guess. The minute you grabbed her,
absolutely-
they must have flipped out.
They
Oh
did.
yeah, they were horrified.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
fact that I cut her hair,
Yeah.
they were just appalled.
Right.
Oh, and so when when that set up for the title versus hair match, the people really, when we came out, they were really well done signs.
Yeah.
That I think there's a picture.
I gave you one. Yeah, someone drew a thing,
Yeah.
like a cartoon. Like
Yeah.
they absolutely believed, because it was title versus hair. Both of us were going to get our head
Yeah.
shaved.
Right.
If I lost, both of us were going to get
Right.
our head shaved. And people thought we were going to lose our hair.
Yeah. And I can imagine how much they wanted you to lose your hair.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Because I remember,
you ain't messing with this.
Exactly.
44 years old, ladies and
Exactly.
gentlemen. Look at that.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. And, earlier when I said this is like deceptively simple,
Right.
and what I was doing, was playing with, I guess, the typical tropes of wrestling. Clearly, wrestling fans, especially dummy independent wrestling
Yeah.
fans, were think this is it.
Yeah.
Clearly, this is going to be
Right.
the rubber match that's going to end it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
was the big swerve.
Yeah.
And that's when you won the title, and you can take it from there.
Yeah, it was. I remember I went out to get the. Did you hand me the clippers, or did I go out? I don't know. I think I left the ring and went out and got the clippers. Came back, and basically, the whole thing was that at the time I was using. Was it the crossface chicken wing?
A long kiss goodnight.
Yes, and it was a submission move
Right.
that basically the only way I would release it is if he.
I'd put the hood on you.
If Sean came in and put the hood on me, and once he put the
like Gary Hart and Abdullah.
Yes.
There you go.
As soon as he put the hood on, I would
Right.
release the hold.
Yeah.
And then that was that. So I somehow managed to get the clippers and wrap the cord around her neck, and then apply the submission.
Right.
And she essentially
Spit
passed
up
out.
blood.
Yeah, she
She
spit up
spit up
blood.
blood.
I want to say did she pass out?
Yeah.
Yeah, something along
Nice.
those lines. But it was, and like I say, the crowd was just.
At first, it was stunned.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like, this is not what we expected.
Because I think I remember at the very end of the match, when they rang the bell, there was silence.
Right, yeah. But
And it-
good silence.
Yes.
Right.
And it-
Yeah, because they were shocked.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then that was that. And then it was on to what he had in his writing of the whole progress was I would wrestle a couple of I don't want to say job girls, but
I got a
Right.
story about this.
All right.
Yeah, so that happens. Kathy wins the title. And, like you said, you were very emotional. And you told that story at the
oh yes.
Yes.
New England Pro Wrestling
Yes.
Hall of Fame that it,
Yep.
it just meant a lot to you.
It did. It was a very emotional moment.
Right.
I went to the back and I started to cry. I can be very emotional.
Yep.
When I was when Sean inducted me into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I talked about my brother.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that's my brother means the world to me, and
Yep.
so I get emotional when I because I don't feel like he got the what he should have gotten.
Right,
But
right.
I went to the back and I was very emotional because it was just one of those. It was a very surreal moment because the reaction, at the end though, once the silence stopped, then it was.
Then
just,
they were pissed.
Then they were angry.
When they realized what was going on.
Right.
I want
yeah.
to say people might have thrown stuff
Oh, I
at
believe it.
us, and they were probably trying to spit on us and things
Yeah.
like that. And
Quincy was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they hated you.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah.
really did.
And the setup was so beautiful in Quincy. They had like
Yeah.
it was a really nice professional setup. So
Right.
I think they might have still had a ramp, but if not, we went back through the curtain and out onto the fire escape.
Yep.
And I just remember going out and just crying because it was for me, it was a matter of people had faith in
Right.
me.
Right.
And that was a huge deal for me because at the time I felt like I was still really green, and the fact that people had confidence in me and the reaction that we got, really I don't know, it kind of overwhelmed me at the time.
Did you realize when it was over though how well it went? You know what I mean? Or did you have, or did people have to tell you? Did you must have
Well, people
known?
kept coming up to you
Right.
to congratulate you, and
Yeah.
I pushed them away. I actually acted. It's funny, as a manager,
Yeah.
I'm not obviously really a manager, but when I managed Dave and Eddie, I
Right.
was always the one who had to drive and make the hotel reservation. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm not really your manager.
Right. Yeah.
But it ended up, it's just that dynamic works out. But it ended up, I actually was kind of your manager that night, and I'm like,
Yeah.
get back.
Yeah.
Give, her,
Right.
give her some space.
Yeah. And Lish thought I was upset with her. I was like, no. It's not. No, it's just. I'm just emotional, and that's not something I ever wanted to do in front of people.
Right.
And so I was okay once I got to the back, but you don't want to show there's nothing worse than seeing somebody on, I'm so, they cry because they're
Yeah,
so
yeah.
excited that they want to talk. It's like, come on,
Right.
I know.
but it was.
This is why I like and respect her.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, let's just put it in perspective. But it was a moment. Fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
But,
now,
yeah, I'm
yes,
sorry.
No,
Real quick.
please go ahead, please.
So yes. So then I have it here, and it brought back a memory. So then I booked just some job matches just to get Kathy over as this
Yep.
monster,
Right.
to make her a legitimate contender for Lish, leading up to finally the steel cage match. Now, people, I go on podcasts, I go on shows like this. People are like, what do you think of Kathy? I'm like, well, Kathy shouldn't be in wrestling. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? She's not good. No, she's great. She shouldn't be in professional wrestling because she's too freaking nice.
Right.
Yeah, all right, we're like yin and yang, okay? On the scale of niceness and a-holeness, Kathy's like a 10 on the niceness scale. I'm like a -5. I'm a jerk.
We truly are polar opposites.
Absolutely.
Right.
You can tell by this interview. In real life. So here's what I'm getting to. Sarah Blackheart, was that was her name?
Yep.
Okay.
Good memory.
Yeah.
Well, it's only because I have it written down. Anyway, so she was green. I think she was
a student.
She was a student.
Right.
I'm like, so whatever. I said,
And she
okay.
was probably like half my body weight. She was tiny.
Right.
I said, so this is perfect for a squash match.
Yep.
Right? Okay, cool. So we're backstage, and they're going over the match, and Kathy's like, okay, so and it was very clear. Rich Bass was also booking at the time. And I said, this is supposed to be a squash. Don't give her anything. What are you doing? And I'm thinking
Right.
Saturday morning wrestling from back in the day. This is, she's like a rookie.
Right.
This is her place. She's supposed to. Kathy was so nice that she gave her all this offense, and I'll never forget this. We got backstage, and Rich Bass is sitting there like this, and he looks at me and he goes, "What the F was that ass?" And I'm like, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Kathy's too nice. She gave her offense. It was supposed to be a squash.
Right.
I couldn't.
You're too
just-
nice.
So the next time you had a match that was supposed to be a squash, did you squash her or did you continue to give people?
Well, I think after that, that was like the one serious. It was supposed to be a squash because then after that there was. I ended up wrestling a couple of girls that were much more experienced that seemed to. They were able to, because I want to say. Ivy was in there. Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah.
I was
was
going to say
in-
Taylor was definitely one of them.
Yep. And obviously, we're not going to have me squash Taylor.
Right.
So, but it was.
Yeah. Actually, I just put babyface.
Yeah.
That's all. Generic babyface.
Yeah.
Run-in by Alexis. Blah, blah, blah. It's so simple.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And there was a lot. We did promos almost every show.
Yeah. Yeah. And, finally it led up to the cage match. And I cut one of the best promos I've ever cut.
Right.
In the boiler room.
The boiler room was our place.
Perfect.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
It was such a great, it was just dank and gross, but it was a great place for us to do promos.
Yeah. And I remember I took like 20 takes, which I never do, but I wanted to get it just right.
Yep.
And it was, they put a portion of the steel cage in front of the boiler. And I'm cutting the promo and blah, blah, blah. And then the lights went out. And then all of a sudden Kathy showed up and I had her put a flashlight under her face, all evil. And she's like breathing heavy. Do you remember that?
I do. I'd completely forgotten about that.
That was the go-home promo before the steel cage match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was good stuff.
That was good stuff.
It's really good stuff. I forgot about that.
Oh my God, that was so good.
Yeah.
Right.
It really was. It really was.
That truly
Nice.
was my favorite time in wrestling. That pretty much the time that we were, doing our thing.
Yeah.
It was.
Just fun.
It was fun. It was when I was at my best. So
Right.
I think that's why I was having so much fun that I was able to be my best.
Now, all those matches were for WWW?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you bring any of did you ever wrestle around just the NECW show?
Oh yeah, we did a couple of NECW shows. We probably did our thing in Top Rope, and there were a few different promotions.
So you manager in Top Rope and everything. You just kept.
Pretty much during that time,
Yeah.
I was her manager.
If
Right. Awesome.
if I was booked on a show,
Yep.
I always wanted to bring him
Right.
because he, we were kind of a package.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was. I always said that it was, it didn't matter if it, if I had to pay him out of my own salary, because it was just like.
See how nice she is?
Yes.
It's because
Too
the
nice
thing
to be in wrestling.
But the thing is, it's for me to just go wrestle somewhere, it's not the same as having
Right, right.
I always felt that he enhanced
Right.
what I did.
Yeah.
And that was
That
the
makes
whole,
sense.
And that was the point. It wasn't just because I wanted to have a manager because I didn't want to talk or anything. It was because whatever I did, he was able to enhance it because
Right.
how much fun is it when it's like me and some other chick, and you've got this guy on the outside of the ring trying to run interference and stuff.
Yeah.
And it
Just
was
little stuff.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
quite frankly, it's people our age, not to give our age away.
Right.
But we're doing all right. We are
Yeah.
totally middle-aged. Look how awesome we look. Where are we? Look at that. That's awesome. Anyway, and it's people like, Kathy's age. Dave, he
Right.
understood the role of a manager.
Yep.
Kathy understood the role of a manager.
Right.
I don't blame younger people now for not getting it.
Yeah.
For what? Why?
Right.
Well, because you can distract the referee, because there's a million different things you can do with a manager. It
Right.
opens up
Yeah.
a ton of possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't see a lot.
no. And I
know?
feel like
Or a lot of real good ones, let's
yeah,
say.
and I think that's the thing is I think people they get into wrestling and become managers, they don't understand.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
they think that they distract the referee and I choke them on the rope. There's so much more to it than that. It's
Right.
I really feel that what we had was a dynamic that you don't see very often, especially not with a female wrestler and a male manager.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, you don't see that very often.
no.
Now, were there any other elements in your feud with Alisha, Alexis Nevaeh, like tag team matches and things like that?
I know there's pictures of matches. I don't know. I
think
drink a
he
lot.
teamed a couple times with Nikki Valentine against.
Yeah, probably against Alisha. I'm trying to think who else would have been. Maybe it could have been like either Taylor or Ivor. Not Ivy.
Ivy.
Ivy, yes.
Right.
Ivy.
Okay.
Yeah. I do remember at one point during that time being. I think I was the champion. I just remember being deathly sick and trying to make noise while I was wrestling and just I couldn't even make. I think I could barely talk, which it made no difference at the,
Right.
because I didn't talk anyway. But I just remember wrestling sick,
Right.
during that time, which was,
I remember I managed you when you wrestled Sasha Banks.
Yes,
Mercedes KV.
yes, Mercedes KV. She was one of those people that you just knew right away.
Right.
She was, every once in a while, I know that, there's some students at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy that there's a couple of girls that doesn't happen very often because most girls
Right.
are, it takes a little bit to get them moving. But she was one of those girls that 3 months in, she was like, you knew there was something
Right.
there. I didn't realize how far she would go.
Yeah.
But we definitely, we had some fun, with her. She was always a good opponent, easy to,
I was shocked when I first saw her on the WWE.
Right.
Because talk about being quiet in the locker room.
oh yeah,
She was like quiet as a mouse.
Really?
yeah.
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 She didn't say, and then all of a sudden,
She ain't
I
quiet
see
no
this
more.
boss over there,
Yeah.
like, where the hell did this come from?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she was like, I think she might have been like religious or something, but she was very kept to herself. She was very, it's just one of those things you never know.
No.
Right.
No. And people would always ask me about her. They're like, oh, is she like all wild and crazy outside the ring? I'm like, no, she has like cats. And she has a lot of plants. I go to her house, she's got a grandfather clock. It's like, it's too quiet here. And I'm just like, let's put some music on or something.
Nice. Now, in Beverly, Mass., you had Nikki Valentine and Sammy Lane in your corner also when you defeated Alexis Nevaeh and ended her 1,190-day title reign, which is the longest in the company's history. Do you remember that?
What company was this?
I'm pretty sure it was WWW. And I don't know. I was going to ask, where were you?
I was
It
gonna
was
say
at the
Samuel-
double. I think it was at the Double Intensity show. Now that wasn't the cage match show, right?
No, that was Birthday Bash 10.
Okay. So yeah, it was at the Double Intensity show in Beverly, Mass.
I remember the name of the show, but that's about all. The thing is,
You had so many matches. with
that's
her, though.
that's the problem. Is I always say my dad is the best person to talk to because my
Yeah.
dad keeps a diary and has since I was like,
Really?
Right.
Oh yeah, my dad had
That's
kept
cool.
the diary
That's
from
awesome.
like
That is.
since the early 80s.
Oh, wow.
And so my dad will be talking to me and he'll say, "Do you know where you were 3 years ago?" I'm like, "Dad, I don't remember where I was last week."
Right.
And he'll be able to tell me and he'll say, "You wrestled so and so," because he'll ask me, "Who did you wrestle?" or whatever, and he writes it in his diary.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember these things. So at the end of the year, my dad is left-handed and has the most beautiful handwriting. It's absolutely incredible. You wouldn't think it if you met my dad because he's crazy, but he's got this incredible handwriting, and he will give me a list on a piece of paper, probably online, but perfectly spaced,
Right.
of all the matches I've had, and I'll look at those and I'm like, I don't remember 3/4 of these.
Wow.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, when you go back a ways,
Yeah.
because at that point, when we were doing our thing, we were wrestling. A lot of times it would be Friday night, Saturday night,
And Sunday sometimes.
and sometimes Sundays.
Right.
Every single weekend.
Yeah.
Because the WWW shows were Sunday, correct? Back then?
Yes,
Somerville.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's I didn't get to go to many of them. Back then I was in the restaurant business. I was working every weekend day.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have any other memories of wrestling her in WWW before we move on to other companies?
Well, we
that you
haven't
went
even
for?
gotten to the big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
The big steel cage match.
Yes.
Which is when I inducted Kathy into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, I said, listen, that match wasn't just one of the best, women's matches
Right.
in New England history. I said it's one of the best matches in New England pro wrestling history.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And I know some people are like, yeah, whatever. But here's the thing. What's a criteria for a good match? I know this is subjective, but whatever. But here's what I was thinking. Was it a good match? Yes, it was. Was it a memorable match? Yes,
Right.
it was. Was it sort of a historic match? Yes, it was. And did it draw money? Yes, it did.
Right.
So in my mind, yes, it was one of the best, matches in New England wrestling history. And admittedly, the house was not great because it was a daytime show,
Okay.
which is always a kiss of death.
Right.
Wasn't it a Sunday afternoon?
It was a Sunday afternoon
Yeah.
because the Birthday Bash 10 had been divided up into Saturday night and Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. But, listen, for the people who were there, they all remember that.
Right.
And I know that steel cage matches now between women are probably commonplace to happen every Monday or whatever. But at the time, it was pretty novel.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact that, quite frankly, you got color was kind of a big deal.
Right.
It was the culmination of a fairly decent angle. Lish won the belt back. But here's the thing that I think made that such like a good match was the fact that we were heels. The people did not like us. They didn't.
Right.
They didn't like what we did with the hair, the whole thing.
And it kept coming. We kept, he kept getting over on her. It was always like one thing after
Right.
another. And so people were they so desperately wanted to see.
What they
Get
saw.
his comeuppance.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and hers.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that, for the people that were there, and I don't know if it's on the DVD or whatever, but if you remember this, and I never do this because I'm an old school kayfabe heel.
Right.
But Lish left, and we exited the ring. And do you remember they gave you a standing ovation?
They did.
Wow.
They did. It was quite humbling. It was but it was.
And I stopped, and I was like, you know what? And I put her hand up, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. All the credit goes right here. This
Right.
lady bleeding like crazy next to me.
Yeah, it was a very. I just lost, but at the
Right.
same time, it was like
People respected it.
but it was just what. I couldn't. I certainly wasn't upset by any means because I felt the match was really. Every now and then, like how you get to see. You see wrestling from a different perspective because typically you're there right outside. You're like feet away from where I am.
Best seat in the house.
Yes.
Right.
And there have been times where I've been in matches where I'm just like, as I'm going through it, I'm like, this is awful, and you can see it, and there were many times where I looked over and I could tell the look on his face that he wasn't impressed. But this was one of those matches that when we came out of it, like I said, we had lost, and he had gotten, she got her comeuppance on
Right.
him, and but the crowd, nobody was leaving. They stayed right to the very end,
Right.
and it was hot. It was brutally
August.
hot. It was August.
Yeah.
There was no air conditioning. It was
No.
brutally hot, but everybody stayed, and I felt like we had, like I said, going through it, I realized that it was a good match.
Right.
And I knew coming out of it, I was like, this was a damn good match.
Yeah.
So,
And the conclusion of a good angle.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the best match they had?
Honestly, and I have to say this because the night before, I had been in a match with where Dave and Eddie wrestled each other.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you know what? Besides the bump I took at the end of that, I don't remember anything from that, but I remember everything from that match.
Nice. Right.
So, and the thing was, my facial expressions when it was time for Kathy to, do her, thing.
Yep.
I remember we're backstage, right? And Kathy goes, yeah, so I've been taking aspirin for about 3 weeks. And Nikki Rocks was like, oh, really? I think you're going to be all set. Like, and you were worried that you weren't going to get the desired effect.
Right.
And it worked out great. While I was distracting the ref and the fans.
I remember you smacking the
Yeah, I was smacking the cage while you were doing your
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
sleight
smart.
of hand.
That's right.
All, misdirection. And I remember, you came up and you looked at me, and I just went, "You're good." There was a lot of red crimson that
Right.
night.
And after the match, I don't know if we were going to the back. You said, it smells like, what did you say? It smelled like pennies?
I literally I got in the cage to take the bump from Lish, and I smelled it. And listen, I'm not I love horror movies. I'm not but I'm kind of a germaphobe. I like blood.
Right.
I don't want to be around it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, it smells like pennies in here. That's how much blood there was in the ring. And I said that to you, and then I was happy because Lish got to, she threw, I've always wanted to do the Bobby Heenan steel cage bump.
Yep.
He'd get thrown and he'd go horizontal.
Right.
And I remember Brandon Locke was like, nice bump. And I just threw myself against the cage.
It was a great bump too, because
Yeah.
you hit the rope and you kind of bounced
Yeah.
off, and it was like the perfect ending.
Yeah.
To all that we had built to,
Right.
and it is definitely, that is by far my proudest match.
Nice.
I felt like I remember when Lish and I were talking about it. She was actually quite nervous going into it. She was afraid of hurting me.
Right.
And there were a few things I wanted. I think there were a couple of. I'd watched some old cage matches. I'm like, I want to take those. A couple
we were
of
at my house. Do you remember this?
Yes.
I was just like, can you do me a favor? Can you just do this one spot? It was like Hogan and Orndorff from the Saturday Night's Main Event, where Hogan had Orndorff over the cage and he's like ramming his head. I'm like, that's so awesome. You do that. And by the way, we stole the finish. I won't say from where. Do you remember the finish was from?
No.
It was so awesome. The finish was Kathy was just about to get out of the cage through the door.
Yep.
And Lish climbed on the outside of the cage, and as she was climbing on the outside of the cage, she kicked the door into her face and sent her backwards.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, we ripped it off, but I won't say where.
Nice. That's awesome.
But it was a great finish.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Now, where did you go after you wrestled for WWW and NECW? What company did you go to next? Was it Chaotic? Was it Top Rope?
We did a decent amount for Top Rope. I'm trying to think because we
wrestled Awesome Kong and
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and Top Rope.
Oh, wow.
I actually watched that match recently, and I was like, God damn, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
You came out and cut this beautiful promo, and wrestling Awesome Kong was
very similar gimmicks.
Yeah.
yeah. And she and I actually told her, we went into the show, and I said, you can squash me if you want, because I mean it's
Right.
Awesome Kong, you know. And
I don't know about that.
yeah,
She sounds like Hooks from Police Academy.
She's awesome. What a great lady.
she is lovely. She's like, oh no, we'll let you. And that was an incredibly fun match. The Top Rope crowds were always really
they were
great.
raucous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of miss doing those shows because I don't know if it's the same anymore, but that was I'm trying to think where else we went.
I know you went to PWS in New Jersey. You had a match with the Lish.
I know. Oddly enough, we went down to New Jersey and they had me wrestle Lish.
No, well,
It's just like, all right.
That was Eric Tapout and Pat Buck.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know if Pat was part of it by then, but I know it was Tapout.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember. I just remember driving, almost 6 hours down to New Jersey, and they're like, "Oh, you're wrestling Lish," and I was like, well, "That's interesting."
Right.
Let me drive all this way.
I think we got it.
Yeah. Easy, at least I knew what I was, like I said, Lish, and I've probably wrestled Lish the most of anybody, and it's odd because I feel like I haven't wrestled her in years now.
Right.
And our paths have crossed a couple of times. Chaotic Wrestling actually did it's like a little thing about the women of Chaotic Wrestling and the history of their women's title. I think it's not very long, but they interviewed me, and that was the last time I saw Lish. Was I actually I went down for my interview, and she was just finishing up hers, and it's always great to see her,
Right.
and she always looks good. She looks the same as she always does. She never ages, and she's same.
Much like us.
Yeah.
Huh? Look at this. Mid-40s never looked so good.
Yeah, right?
Stay out of the sun, kids.
Yeah. At SPF 60 every day.
100.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
There's such a thing as 100?
I'm Irish, I can't deal with this.
He can't take the chance.
Apparently.
He's Irish.
Jeez. Yeah, I do SPF 60, so.
I don't have that problem. So you also wrestled in Chaotic.
Yes.
And I think I got some things written down now. I know you wrestled at the PAV, and you had a four-way with Casey Ray beating Alexis, Davian, and you were the champ at the time.
Yes.
Any memories on that match? And the crowd, that place was a great place to see a show.
Yeah, Chaotic was they always, sometimes they would run because they ran pretty much the same places, didn't they?
Right.
Yeah, PAV and random spot shows.
Yeah. But they were always like smaller venues, but they packed the people in.
Right.
And it was, I loved wrestling Casey Ray. She was a gymnast. And I don't know, I just had so much fun with her because she was one of those that I remember seeing, I think Beth Phoenix, folding somebody in half. And I was like, hey, do you think I could, if I folded you in half, could you kick yourself in the back of the head? She's like, yeah. And so I was able to put her in and I just took her foot and just kicked herself in the back of the head. I'm like, there's no way my foot would even come close to touching my head. But so I always loved she was one that wasn't in it for very long, and she needed a little, little guidance. But for me, it's always like, well, what can you do?
Right.
Like
right.
I pride myself on having a reputation for. Girls like to work with me. Girls like to wrestle me because I'm easy to wrestle. And so rather than, if somebody isn't, that experienced or whatever, doesn't have that much, I say, well, what can you do?
Right.
I don't tell them what you need to do. I say, well, what can you do? Well, okay, then we'll put this here and this here and this here.
Right.
And one of the best compliments I ever had, I think it was Matt West told me that I could wrestle a broomstick and make it look good. And
it's a great compliment.
And I don't feel that way, but to me it's a great compliment because
you're versatile.
I am, and the thing is, I love working with new girls,
right?
And a lot of people are like, they're green, so they're not good or whatever. But it's like if you go into it with a different perspective, if you go into it thinking, well, this person sucks, so I'm just gonna go through the, why not put a little something in it and find out what they can do, and then work from there. And so I've had some stinkers, but I've also been, some of the most memorable matches that stick in my head are the ones that I've had with, Mercedes KV when she was green, but still like, holy crap, we got a good match out of her. And when she was still learning psychology and things like that, so she might not have been able to put something together on her own, but together we put together like a really good match for somebody that was 3 months into wrestling, So that's something I've always prided myself on, was being able to be easy to,
Nice.
Sasha busted my eardrum, by the way.
Did she really?
Was a crowbar.
She got a little too excited.
Hear to this day. Yeah. Huh? What?
I've only had my eardrum busted once, and it was just one of those things. I said, how about to start the match? We really established you as a heel, and you just slapped me in the face, and she caught me in the ear, and I heard everything. You know how it goes.
Like a seashell. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I couldn't hear anything, and I was like, that was the dumbest thing. I said, I've done it since then, but I'm just like, please don't slap me in the ear. Slap me in the face, because I'll take one for the team. There's been many times the worst thing. I remember one time I wrestled, one of the first times I wrestled Davian. I said, I think it was for NECW. It might have been, I don't think you were with me at that point, but I came out and she was already in the ring, and I said, come out, charge at me, and clothesline me on the floor. And I remember as soon as I took the bump, I'm like, why did I call this? Why would you? I'm like, that was the stupidest, but it, you go on and everything, the match was great. Right. And she has gone on to, she's one of my favorite people, and love her to pieces. And hopefully, at some point when I have my last match, it will be against her. So,
nice.
So,
I'd like to manage you for your last match.
Would you actually do that?
Yes, absolutely, for you.
All right, then. Yeah.
All right. As long as your last match, don't be pulling like a Brian Fury
or
Bret Hart or whatever.
No.
Having a match and then coming back 6 months later.
Yeah, we'll get the hood. We'll do the whole thing. We're awesome. Come on.
Well, you know what? I would bust out the whole. I still have the hood and everything.
That my mom made.
Yeah, that your mom made.
That's
I would
awesome.
bust out I would huck chairs and
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll have to find a promotion to book that, but yeah, I'll.
I think you can get it done.
Yeah, and it's not that far off. So it is not that far off.
Would you guys like to say anything to Alisha about your feud? Because I am going to share this show with her.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was an absolute delight, and it does my heart good to see where she is in wrestling.
Absolutely.
The fact that she's still, because she's been wrestling just a little bit longer than me, I think. And I've been, I started training in 2003. So it's been a long time. So she's been in wrestling for a very long time. And so my hat's off to her for still, still getting in there. And apparently she's doing it, maybe not every night, but, on a regular basis.
She's on TV every week, though.
She is, yeah.
I haven't watched it in a while, but she is on TV every week.
Yeah.
And, What's cameras on? Lish, I love you. Your husband probably has an eating disorder. It's something that should be addressed. I know he looks great, but I've seen him eat whole pizzas. So, maybe it's time to intervene. But you're a wonderful lady. You had wonderful matches with this wonderful lady here. And I was happy to be in the corner watching the whole thing. And you're a crowbar. Love you, Lish. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, so, your feud lasted a very long time. The only other feud I could think of that lasted maybe as long as yours was Brickhouse Baker and Jose Perez, who I also had on this show.
Yep.
And they had, I want to say, an 8-year, 9-year feud, probably even longer than that. But it's incredible. Thank you guys for coming on. Do you want to plug your social media at all? You're not on Facebook, are you?
I'm terrible with social media. I don't.
All right.
I don't feel my life is interesting enough to put a bunch of pictures on there, and I'm not one of those people that just takes all kinds of pictures of myself.
Right.
Yeah. And not that I'm pretty happy with myself, but I'm just like, do people really want to see numerous pictures of me? Yeah. So I have an Instagram.
Yeah.
I think it's, what is it? If you search for Widow Belmont, I'm sure it's on there. I don't know how half this crap works. So.
I don't care. I hate everybody. Leave me alone. Have some COVID, New Hampshire. There you go.
Listen, we got like a minute and a half. I just wanted to bring up a couple of girls' names to get your opinion on them.
All right.
The Sea Stars, Thelma Exmo and Ashley Vox.
Love them. They are adorable, and I love them to pieces. They're such good girls.
Okay. Isana. She was on the show over the weekend.
She was, and she's one of those girls that every time I see her, it brings joy to my heart. If that's it sounds silly, but she's just one of those just lovely people that
nice.
I love to see.
A great your opponent for you that you've wrestled many times, Vanity Vixen.
Vanity Vixen, she and I go back so far. Yeah. She's the one person that I've wrestled almost as much as Lish.
Right.
And but she and I could wrestle each other with our eyes closed. Love her to pieces.
Okay. Sammy Lane.
Sammy Lane, I haven't seen her in forever. I think she's the one that dropped off the face of the earth.
She actually messaged me a few months ago. She's a nice lady.
Yeah.
Nice.
Love Sammy Lane.
One more real quick. Nikki Valentine.
Nikki Valentine, lovely girl. I think she retired like a while ago, didn't she?
I don't even know who she is.
Yeah, I think she did. I think you're right.
It might have been. I don't think she was wrestling when you were around.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't see her around anymore. Guys, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It goes by so fast.
Yes.
Hopefully we can do this again.
I would love to.
All right.
Fun.
Thanks. Guys, we're out. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.